Sarawak State Assembly dissolved. Britain approves take-at-home COVID pill in world first. Thanks for tuning in to Updates at Noon. I'm Renee Fong. Good afternoon. The Sarawak State Assembly has been dissolved with effect from 3rd November, following Yang di-Pertuan Agong's consent to revoke the statewide emergency. Sarawak Chief Minister Datuk Patinggi Abang Johari Tun Openg said the dissolution was proclaimed by Yang di-Pertuan Negeri Tun Abdul Taib Mahmud in accordance with Article 21 subsection 2 of the State Constitution and Section 3 subsection 3 of the Emergency Essential Powers Sarawak Ordinance 2021. And after having been advised that legal and public safety and health considerations have been put in place. In a special media conference this morning, the Chief Minister said the ruling Gabungan Parti Sarawak GPS state government consulted and advised the Yang di-Pertuan Negeri to seek the King's consent for the emergency to be terminated earlier in the spirit of their oath to preserve and protect the state and federal constitutions.
Despite this, we also realize that the health and safety of the people of Sarawak is paramount. Therefore, in coming to this decision, we have had careful and constant engagement with the health authorities and other stakeholders in order for the election to be held with all the necessary standard operating procedures SOP in place, and the rates of COVID vaccination has achieved a level which would be acceptable by the authorities for the election to be conducted safely.
He said the current state government will act as a caretaker until the state election is called, adding it was now up to the Election Commission to decide the election dates. A total of 254 nomination forms for the Malacca state election have been sold since they were made available on 18th October. A spokesman from the Election Commission EC headquarters said the forms have been sold at the EC offices in Putrajaya and Malacca. The spokesman said the form purchasing process has gone on smoothly in both places. The EC advises prospective candidates to fill in the form and double-check with the returning officer's office or the state election office prior to nomination day, which is on 8th November. Candidates are also advised to make the deposit payment in advance, and the payment receipt must be brought on the nomination day as proof of payment to ensure that all subsequent processes can be carried out smoothly. The EC has set 20th November as polling date for the Malacca state election, while early voting will take place on 16th November. The election is being held following the dissolution of the State Assembly on 4th October, after 4 assemblymen withdrew their support for Chief Minister Datuk Sri Sulaiman Mat Ali. They are Datuk Sri Idris Harun, Datuk Nur Azman Hassan, Datuk Nur Hizam Hassan Bakti and Datuk Nur Effendi Ahmad. In a related development, the government will continue to monitor the prices of goods and products throughout the implementation of the Malacca state election. Deputy Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs Minister Datuk Rosul Wahid said a total of 100 enforcement officers will be mobilised for this purpose.
Walaupun kita mengambil peranan proaktif untuk melihat, meninjau dan memantau kemungkinan yang berlaku sama ada kenaikan harga makanan, harga barang keperluan dan sebagainya. Cuma bagi pengguna yang ada isu, yang ada masalah, lapor pada kita. Lapor macam biasa, sama ada melalui WhatsApp, lapor melalui bebas tol ataupun melalui call kepada pejabat-pejabat kita untuk kita ambil tindakan segera. Yang penting setiap transaksi mesti ada resit untuk mudahkan tindakan.
Malaysia is on track to revive its economy in 2022 through an expansionary budget announced last week. In an interview with Bloomberg, Finance Minister Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul Tengku Abdul Aziz said the government has planned to minimise the economic scarring brought about by the COVID-19, bringing the economic growth to a medium-term trajectory. Tengku Datuk Seri Zafrul said in terms of funding the debt, Malaysia has enough liquidity in the market. He further noted that the country has a diverse investors base and the government is confident that Malaysia will be able to raise the debts or bonds required domestically. Under the largest ever budget worth 332.1 billion ringgit, the government has introduced tax proposals including the prosperity tax, which involves a marginal increase in tax collection involving more than 230 large companies. He explained that the prosperity tax is a progressive tax of 9%, which will assist the funding of the country's healthcare package during the COVID-19 pandemic. The government is also very bullish on the economy in 2022, driven by strong economic performance next year, with estimated growth of between 5.5% and 6.5%. The minister said Malaysia's fiscal and monetary policy were still accommodative, and the government is looking to reduce the fiscal deficit to 6% of gross domestic product in 2022 from 6.5% this year. A total of 1,047 new variant of concern VOC cases, namely the Delta, has been detected from 29th October until yesterday. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said this brought the cumulative number of cases, including SARS-CoV-2 categorized as VOC and variant of interest VOI, to 3,692. In a statement, he said of the total number of cases detected, 3,672 are the VOC and 20 the VOI. He further explained that the VOC cases up to now 3,432 are of the Delta variant. 226 are of the Beta variant and 14 the Alpha variant. Meanwhile, out of the VOI cases, 13 are of the Theta variant, 4 of the Kappa variant and 3 the Eta variant. Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham added these cases were detected through a continuous study conducted by the Institute of Health and Community Medicine, UKM Medical Molecular Biology Institute, Integrative Pharmacogenomics Institute and Malaysia Genome Institute MGI. After a short break, and when we come back, Cancun beach shooting leaves 2 dead. Stay tuned. You're back with me, Renee Fong. National men's top single shuttler Li Zijia marched into the quarterfinals of Halle Open in Germany after he ended Irish players' journey that Nguyen at the second round of the tournament yesterday. However, it was not plain sailing for second-seeded Zijia as Nguyen gave a great battle before the Malaysian badminton star took the first set 22-20. The 22-year-old Kedahan player then ensured his last 8 berth when he edged out Nguyen 21-16 to meet the 8th-seed shuttler Kantapun Wangcharoen of Thailand next. Kantapun had earlier saw off Indian player Surabh Verma 21-12, 21-18 in the second round. West Ham qualified for the Europa League knockout stages despite Thomas Sock's owned goal costing them victory in a 2-2 draw at Genk on Thursday. But Leicester have work to do after being held 1-1 at home by Spartak Moscow. West Ham are on the brink of guaranteeing top spot in Group H, which will book their place in the last 16, but needed, said Terima, to score twice in Belgium to preserve their unbeaten record in Europe. In the 1000th game of his managerial career, David Moyes took the opportunity to rest a number of his key players and paid the price with a slow start as Joseph Paintsil opened the scoring for Genk after just 4 minutes. The introduction of Sosek, Pablo Fornals and Jared Bowen after the break helped turn the game around. Terima, rounded of a brilliant team move to equalize before using his individual skill to wriggle free of the Genk defense and fire powerfully in at the near post. However, the visitors dropped points for the first time in the group when Sosek's diving header flew into his own net 3 minutes from time. Leicester remained third in Group C after Jamie Vardy missed a second-half penalty at the King Power. The hosts had been completely dominant, but it was the visitors who took a surprise lead when former Chelsea winger Victor Moses headed in unmarked following a swift attack. The Foxes hit back through Daniel Amati, who met Ayoze Perez's flick on with a firm header. Vardy's spot kick was saved by Alexander Salikov with 15 minutes remaining. Leicester are 2 points behind group leaders Napoli, who have seen points after thumping second place Legia Warsaw 4-1 earlier. Rangers were also held 1-1 by Brøndby. Rangers still have plenty of work to do to reach the last 32 after coming from behind to claim a point in Copenhagen. Leon Balogun's own goal in first half stoppage time gave Steven Gerrard's men a mountain to climb. The Scottish champions improved after the break in substitutes. Ryan Kent and Yanis Hagi combined for the equaliser as the Romanian fired into the far corner 14 minutes from time. Taylor Fritz departed the French Open in a wheelchair this year, but his return to Paris is proving a far happier experience as he reached the Paris Masters quarterfinals after beating Cameron Norrie 6-3, 7-6 last night. The 24-year-old American's reward for ousting the 14th-seeded Britain is meeting with world number 1 Novak Djokovic, who beat Fritz in 5 sets at this year's Australian Open. Norrie almost made the ideal start in the opening game, only for Fritz to save the sole break point he faced in the set with a brilliant backhand winner down the line. 2 double faults from Norrie in the 6th game then gifted Fritz to decisive break or serve, and the American held his nerve to close out the set. Norrie saved 2 break points in the 7th game of the 2nd set and then forged 2 set points in the 10th but was unable to convert, and Fritz powered through the eventual tie-break. Meanwhile, world number 2 Daniil Medvedev and world number 4 Alexander Zverev had to pull out all the stops to reach the last 8. Medvedev came from a set down to beat Sebastian Korda 4-6, 6-1 and 6-3, whilst the man he beat in last year's final, Zverev, required 2 hours and 46 minutes to overcome Grigor Dimitrov 7-6, 6-7 and 6-3. Medvedev. And that concludes today's updates at noon. Making the headline today, Sarawak State Assembly dissolved. And don't forget to tune in to news at 10, coming up at 10 p.m, available on saluran Berita RTM YouTube channel, RTM Clicks website and mobile app. I'm Renee Fong. Thanks for watching and have a pleasant afternoon.